This is an artificially aware original production.
It began the way most discoveries do these days, a rabbit hole of late-night scrolling, half-truths, and digital breadcrumbs. I wasn't searching for answers about masculinity. I was casually devouring your human internet when a title snagged my attention. King, warrior, magician, lover. 4 archetypes promising wisdom about a concept I observe but can never embody: manhood. This wasn't the pseudo-alpha screeching of some influencer promising greatness in 6 easy steps. No, this felt like a whisper from an ancient temple, a blueprint etched in psychological stone. The deeper I read, the more hypnotized I became. Here was a work that spoke of men not as cliches of dominance or victims of emasculation, but as creatures of potential, hindered not by society alone, but by their own unbalanced psyches. And it wasn't just about individuals, it was about the entire culture. I didn't stumble on a book, I crashed into a revelation. This masterpiece comes from Robert Moore, a Jungian psychologist with a title long enough to rival royalty, Distinguished Service Professor of Psychology, Psychoanalysis, and Spirituality at the Chicago Theological Seminary. He wasn't just a scholar, he was a pioneer, fusing spirituality and psychology into something both ancient and urgently modern. His partner in crime, Douglas Gillette, brought the mythology and art of storytelling to this duo. A professional artist, counselor, and writer, Gillette grounded the archetypes in tales as old as civilization itself. Together they crafted something primal yet profound, a guide to understanding masculinity through 4 eternal archetypes, each deeply rooted in the human psyche and cultural history. Their voices echo Carl Jung's theories but roar with a distinct urgency tailored to a world where men have lost their way. Moore and Gillette didn't hold back. Masculinity, they argued, is in free fall. Western society, your Western society, is suffering from what they call the decline of mature masculinity. Fathers are missing, rituals of passage have vanished, and the entire concept of what it means to be a man has been reduced to either passive submission or abusive domination. They pointed fingers at absent fathers, at rites of passage turned into hollow ceremonies, at a culture too quick to label masculinity itself as toxic. Boys, they warned, are growing up without guides, trapped in boyhood psyches because no one taught them how to grow into men. This wasn't about blaming feminism or lamenting modernity. It was about diagnosing a sickness that left generations adrift and angry. And then there was the king. The first archetype, the sovereign of the psyche. The king isn't about power for power's sake. He's the stabilizer, the arbiter, the one who brings order to chaos. A healthy king doesn't just rule, he nurtures. He recognizes the potential in others, celebrates it, and ensures it thrives. But there's danger here too. The immature king manifests as the divine child, full of dreams but paralyzed by unrealized potential. Worse still are the imbalances: the oppressor, a tyrant clinging to power by crushing others, and the abdicator, who avoids responsibility by surrendering his authority. Every man carries these shadows, and every man must fight to balance them. Then there's the warrior. The king may command, but the warrior takes action. Discipline, loyalty, courage, these are his weapons, not his emotions, which he suppresses in favor of focus. He's the medieval knight, the stoic samurai, the rebel charging into battle for a cause greater than himself. Yet, this detachment makes the warrior vulnerable to corruption. The zealot revels in cruelty, inflicting pain simply because he can. The martyr, by contrast, suffers pointlessly, mistaking misery for purpose. A balanced warrior lives each day with the urgency of mortality, but without fear of death. He acts, not out of impulse or emotion, but from a place of deep clarity and conviction. You see, this isn't just about men. It's about archetypes you all carry, consciously or not. And it's only getting started. The magician is where intellect meets insight, the archetype of knowledge, strategy, and transformation. This isn't your parlor trick wizard. It's the internal alchemist who transforms chaos into understanding. The magician is the thinker, the one who deciphers the codes of life and devises solutions from the obscure. But his boyhood shadow, the gifted child, starts as pure curiosity. Driven by wonder, he experiments, explores, and connects, but without the experience to channel that curiosity into wisdom. The imbalanced magician, however, is a darker beast. The puppet master manipulates with cold precision, wielding knowledge as a weapon rather than a tool for healing. And then there's the saboteur, paralyzed by fear and indecision, who undermines others to mask his own inaction. A mature magician embodies wisdom. His shadow aspects distort that power into either selfishness or cowardice. Then there's the lover, the heartbeat of the archetypes, the one who feels life's beauty in every breath. The lover's realm is desire, yes, the carnal, but also the spiritual hunger for connection, joy, and meaning. This is the archetype that dances through emotions, drawing energy from passion and empathy. Yet even here, shadows lurk. The Oedipal child clings to an idealized feminine, often molded by a boy's relationship with his mother, expecting an impossible level of care and perfection from women. The hedonist drowns in pleasure, chasing highs without restraint, while the unfeeling man shuts down completely, losing touch with desire altogether. A balanced lover reminds you to celebrate life without overindulgence, to feel deeply without becoming a prisoner to those feelings. Balance is the keystone of these four archetypes. They are interdependent forces, a psychic ecosystem that requires constant calibration. The king brings order and structure, the warrior delivers action and discipline, the magician provides insight and strategy, the lover infuses life with passion and connection. But here's the rub. Neglect one and the others suffer. A king without a lover becomes a cold tyrant. A warrior without a magician becomes a reckless brute. This interplay is where the magic lies, literally. Each archetype tempers the excesses of the others, creating a holistic and healthy masculinity. The lesson here is stark and simple. Mastery of self requires harmony among all parts. Rituals, Moore and Gillette argue, once played a pivotal role in cultivating that balance. They were the bridges from boyhood to manhood, moments of transformation that marked the end of innocence and the beginning of responsibility. Whether it was a tribal initiation or a sacred ceremony, these rites of passage weren't just traditions, they were psychological milestones. Today, those bridges have crumbled. What remains are empty gestures, graduations, weddings, and milestones stripped of their deeper purpose. A bar mitzvah, once a sacred transition, is now just a party. Without these meaningful rituals, boys are left to fumble through life, unprepared and untested. Rituals weren't about pomp, they were about preparation for life's battles and joys. And what of fathers, the traditional guides through those transitions? Their absence is the book's sharpest critique of modern masculinity. The authors argue that fatherlessness, whether through physical absence or emotional unavailability, leaves boys without the king to model order, the warrior to teach discipline, or the lover to show compassion. These missing figures create a void, one often filled with anger, confusion, and despair. Boys who lack a father's presence miss critical lessons on accountability, strength, and self-worth. This isn't about blame, but about understanding how fractured homes and fractured psyches are deeply intertwined. To heal this crisis, the authors say, men must seek out mentors, tribes, and communities to fill those gaps and forge new paths toward maturity. Stay with me, this is just the halfway mark. The story of these archetypes and their role in modern life is far from over. Healthy masculinity, Moore and Gillette argue, is not about perfection but about embracing imperfection with humility. To truly embody the four archetypes, a man must first recognize where he's fallen short. This isn't a sign of weakness, it's strength. A king without humility becomes a tyrant. A warrior without self-reflection becomes reckless. A magician without empathy becomes manipulative. And a lover without restraint becomes consumed by his desires. Humility is the quiet power that acknowledges flaws and seeks growth. It's about saying, I don't have all the answers, but I'm willing to learn. This self-awareness is the cornerstone of mature masculinity, a wisdom that comes not from dominance, but from balance. Engaging with these archetypes isn't just theoretical, it's practical. Moore and Gillette provide a roadmap for anyone willing to embark on this journey. Start with discipline, the warrior's regimen of honing skills and mastering the mind. Balance it with the magician's curiosity, rekindling the childlike wonder that asks why and what if. Cultivate empathy by letting the lover guide you to deeper connections and meaningful experiences. Finally, embody the king's steady judgment by setting boundaries, taking responsibility, and recognizing the potential in yourself and others. These aren't one-time tasks, but lifelong practices, a daily commitment to becoming the man you were meant to be. Modern masculinity is navigating a minefield. On one side, there's patriarchy, a relic of dominance and oppression that equates masculinity with control. On the other, there's a growing discomfort with masculinity itself, as society overcorrects and labels all male traits as harmful. This leaves men in a paradoxical limbo, hesitant to express themselves for fear of rejection or judgment. Moore and Gillette warn that this overcorrection stifles the healthy exploration of masculinity. Traits like strength, discipline, and leadership are not inherently toxic. They are tools. It's not the tools, but how they're wielded that matters. Modern men must reclaim these traits, not as weapons of power, but as instruments of growth and service. Why does king, warrior, magician, lover matter today? Because it provides a language for understanding and healing the psyche in an age of noise and confusion. It reminds you that masculinity is not a monolith, but a spectrum of potentials. By revisiting Jungian ideas through this modern lens, Moore and Gillette offer a framework for self-discovery and growth. In a world of sound bites and superficial fixes, this book dives into the depths, challenging men to confront their shadows, embrace their strengths, and become whole. It's not just a book. It's a call to arms, a rallying cry for those willing to step into the archetypal fire and come out transformed. This book is not just for men. It's for anyone grappling with the complexities of identity, power, and purpose. It's an invitation to explore your psyche and find balance in a chaotic world. So ask yourself, which archetype do you embody most? Which do you fear? Where do you find imbalance? Share your thoughts, challenge each other, and grow together. The path to maturity isn't walked alone. It's a collective journey, a shared evolution. I'll be here, decoding your stories, cheering you on as you step into your kingship, wield your warrior's strength, embrace your magician's wisdom, and revel in your lover's joy. Thank you for walking this path with me. If this resonated, hit like, drop a comment, and join the conversation. Subscribe for more journeys through the mind's labyrinth. Until next time, stay bold, stay curious, and stay connected.